make sure you have quiet time. When you get in the car, don't turn on the radio, just be quiet. When you're walking the dog, don't listen to something, just be quiet. I think it's both. So Reiki, it comes in at the frequency of unconditional love. So if we were to sort of measure Reiki, that's what it would be. And so it has a very distinctive frequency, and it's really a combination of the heart and the seventh chakra, the crown chakra and the heart, which is unconditional love, like universality and love, divine love. I also think, we all need to learn how to manage and regulate our nervous system and manage and regulate our emotions. Right? If I had a magic wand and I could wave it over the world, I would teach everyone how to self-regulate. And that's the topic of the book I'm working on now. Because I literally think we'd have like no wars, we'd have no hunger, we'd have no hatred if everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hello, beautiful people all over this amazing magical planet. My name is Robert Canis, and this is another Beyond the Courage podcast. Today, our guest is Lisa Campion. How are you doing, Lisa, today?
I'm doing so well, Robert. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for being our guest. And today we'll be talking also about a very important subject, how to quit a daily job. And, for example, how to become a professional healer. Would you be so kind and introduce yourself to our guest?
Sure, yeah. I'm Lisa Campion, and I've been working as a professional psychic for, can you believe this, 40 years.
Wow.
I started when I was 19. That was 40 years ago. So this has been my whole life, working as a psychic. And these days, so I did many years of doing private readings and psychic sessions for people. These days, I really feel like my mission in life is to train an army of healers to go out there and save the world. The world needs saving every day. I think, oh my God, even more today than it was yesterday. But I've been teaching Reiki for 26 years, and I think my sweet spot is in working with emerging psychics, healers, and empaths to help them really understand their gifts, to help them, step into their fullness of their gifts so that you can go out and do what you're called to do as a psychic, healer, or sensitive, or an empath. Well, that's what I like to do.
So almost 40 years.
Yeah.
What have changed? Because this is really fascinating. It's 4 decades of what have changed during this 4 decades in this field of work, helping people, expanding consciousness?
Yeah, lots changed. I mean, it was the 1980s when I started working, sometime in the 80s. And, back then it was such a weird thing to be a psychic. It's still pretty weird. It's still pretty odd. But it was really weird back then. And there was no internet, no social media, no nothing. And people had some pretty strange ideas about psychics. There was either the psychic hotline. That's how you could get a psychic, is you dial a 900 number and pay by the minute.
I think it was pretty expensive back then, right? The 900
Yes,
numbers.
it was. It was nuts, And it was hard to find a good psychic. It was hard to find a reputable psychic. So when I first started, my business was fully word of mouth. There was no way to advertise. I just had to, just do sessions and then sort of spread the word. No websites. Think about it. It was really, I had a business card, I think, and everything else was word of mouth. So it was it was harder. These days, I don't know if it's harder or easier, but there's certainly so much more exposure we have through, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, I have social media, I have, all those things that I think reach more people, than I could back in the day when I was just doing one session at a time forever. Yeah.
But if we look at the expectations right now of people, what have changed during these 40 years?
I mean, I think our level of consciousness has changed a lot. And so back when I first started, people were really wanting mediumship sessions. I don't get that many tell me the lottery numbers or, that kind of question that sometimes psychics get, but I did get some of that. Now I think I think that was very much when I started working, people were looking to solve problems in their lives. You know, help me understand my children. Is my husband cheating on me? Like these were the kinds of things. I think these days people are more interested in their expanded states of consciousness. So they're very curious about their past lives, or they want to know who their spirit guides are. They are looking for spiritual direction, or they've had a lot of psychic experiences themselves that they're trying to figure out. They've had like their own spiritual and psychic opening that they're trying to navigate. And I think that's a big difference from when I started working.
Recently, NDEs are very popular, like the near-death experiences. Did you have some people, clients who had these experiences, and they were already asking you, like maybe to try to understand that experience of maybe the close ones or loved ones in the family?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that really open up people's psychic ability. Near-death experience is one of them, you know. These days, it's people who take psychedelics or plant medicine and have psychedelic journeys often have a really sudden opening, psychic opening, and need help explaining it. Or maybe somebody you know died. So it doesn't even have to be your near-death experience. I think we can have a near-death experience when somebody close to us passes away that creates a powerful spiritual opening. And also I think, you know, what happens that I think is really different is nowadays people do always say it's yoga, Reiki, and meditation are the three gateways into the larger spiritual life and into the psychic opening world, you know? So now everybody does yoga, not everybody, but it's so readily available to do yoga, Reiki, and meditation. And so everyone's psychic ability is expanding. They're having their own psychic experiences or having a spiritual awakening of some kind. So I think near-death experiences are part of that, but part of a bigger picture of other things that can really pop us open.
Okay, yeah, my next question was referring to psychedelics because this word could be very close to psychic work, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you yourself have some psychedelic experiences which may help you expand your abilities or your work?
I mean, sure. Yeah, I've for sure. And, you know, more recently I've done microdosing, so experimented a little bit with microdosing. I honestly, my psychic senses are so open that I don't really need a lot of that. Like, it would be probably too much for me to handle, like a really big, like heroic or journey level dose. I don't have really an interest in doing that. Although I did it when I was younger, more in ceremony, like, you know, a deep shamanic journey. And I think that had something to do with my psychic opening, but I really just was born psychic. So my very first experiences, like my first memories are psychic in nature. And I think I just came onto the planet that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about how it started. So when you were like a little child, you already had these abilities to... Yeah, this is my theory about this, Robert, is that I had a twin brother that died in utero. So he died at about 14 weeks, as far as I can tell. And actually, I sort of remember it. It's sort of weird to say that you can experience or remember something. He was 14 weeks when he died?
Yeah, 14 weeks in utero, never born.
Oh, okay.
You know? Yeah, never born. So I think, you know, how twins are psychically connected anyway, like we have this connection. Then he died and my mom basically had a miscarriage, but the doctors were still surprised she was still pregnant, but that was me, right? So I think that's why I was born psychic. He was on the other side. My psychic connection to him never went anywhere. And so I was literally born psychic. I just experienced, he was my invisible friend. You know, when kids have like invisible friends, he was my invisible friend when I was little. When I was like 4 years old, my mom came into the room and she said, "Lisa, who are you talking to?" And I said, "My dead brother, William." She just like dropped the glass she was carrying and ran screaming out of the room like, "Whoa, you know, how did you know that?" But I'd been talking to him for so long, you know, that was what I That's what I was always doing. So,
What was the like a core message from his side?
I think he was more like for companionship. He was like, it's going to be okay. He was very comforting to me because I could see spirits. I could see, the spirits of the dead. I could see angels. I saw shadow spirits. I saw colors around people. And he would come and be like, it's okay. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, you need to, get through this because it's what you're here for, So I never had any doubt whatsoever that we existed beyond death because I just always saw dead people and they didn't seem like they were having a hard time. Like they were beings of light, really, So I was like, well, death isn't that bad. And clearly we exist after we die. And I had just such a funny relationship with death right from the beginning because of that experience.
Oh, that's really amazing. And my younger brother died when he was 5 weeks old.
Wow.
Had a heart failure. Another one was 31 years old on a motorcycle.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but my approach to death, I think it's pretty close like yours, that it's just a process. That's not like something bad. Like in our Western culture, people see it as something tragic. You said you love to talk about your books, and you mentioned that you're working on another book, which is a huge challenge right now.
Yeah.
About inner child work. Would you be so kind and talk about it a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. It's my 5th book. So you think I'd be getting used to it by now. And I just, it's always I always say I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with writing, but I must love it more than I hate it because I keep doing it. But this one is particularly hard and it's about inner child work. So it's called Sacred Reparenting. And I find that it's like more personal and it's not really that I'm writing about myself, but as I'm writing about my, childhood and childhood wounding, I just finished a chapter on generational trauma, which was kind of a heavy chapter to write. And I just noticed that all of my family stuff was really kicked up. Like there was drama in my family. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what generational trauma looks like into action. You know what I mean? So I could see the patterns that I'm writing about in my life, not see them, experience them like on every level with my own parents, with my children, with the family system. It's all kind of in my face in a way, like I'm remembering things from my childhood, my own childhood traumas that are, I'm like, I forgot that happened until I started writing about it. So it's just really digging deep into my own psyche and pulling out some things that are hard to look at and painful to remember and difficult to process. It feels, I'm just going to have faith that on the other end, it's really productive because I know that it's really good to go a little deeper into these things and work another level of healing on myself. But I have to tell you, it's a hard one. It's been really like more painful, personally painful than the other books. Were more fun to write. And this one is requiring me to do a deeper round of healing on myself again.
Yeah, I was wondering, like a person who is a psychic, how do you work on yourself? How do you try to help yourself? Like, do you do sessions with yourself, or maybe sometimes you go to a different psychic to?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can really do sessions on yourself. I mean, I meditate and I journal. I do all the self-care, spiritual practice things because I think everyone really should do that. But when I have things come up, I work with a therapist. I have an energy healer. I have a psychic that I work with. So I have a whole team of, people that when stuff comes up that I'm so grateful and feel so fortunate, that I know a lot of incredible healers, so I can, fall back on that when I need help processing something. Yeah. I don't think you can work on yourself. I don't really know anybody that can do that.
That could be a huge challenge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause we can't see. It's like it's like sort of trying to cut your own hair. Like you can't see the back of your own head, just like you can't see what's in your subconscious or your patterns that are part of your subconscious are really hard to see until somebody points it out to you, And that's the value of working with a therapist or a healer, is that they can see the things that you're a bit blind to and hopefully compassionately point it out to you so you can see the patterns. Yeah.
I think more and more people nowadays are open to talk to psychics or use this kind of services. How do you see the future of relationship between psychic people who provide this kind of services and humanity in general?
It's really also something that's changed a lot in the 40 years that I've been working. It was something that just wasn't part of the sort of conversation, the mainstream conversation when I started. And then, we had the dawn of the new age in the 80s, and that kind of opened the conversation to books were published, people were teaching classes. It was still pretty fringe, it was still pretty out there. And these days, I think there's so much more. There's psychics on TV, there's podcasts, there's, movies. There's a lot more openness, and I think that's really good because it gives people who are having psychic experiences the ability to share what they're talking about. And I think especially young people, I see it on TikTok and Instagram. Young people are so much more open about their experiences than people of my generation. When I was writing my book, Awakening Your Psychic Ability, I was doing some research on this, and I found this old Gallup poll from the 80s, where they surveyed people. They surveyed 600 people, which was kind of a big one back then. And they found out of these 600 people, 80% of them admitted to having a psychic experience. And 80% of them said they'd never told anyone about it.
Wow.
So,
that's a really big number.
It's a really big number. So basically everyone that had a psychic experience, like nobody would say. Nobody would talk about it. Nobody would share. And it made me feel sad or worried for, them. How many people have had intense psychic experiences and just never felt like they could say anything about it? Because, back then it would be, if you saw angels or talked to dead Uncle Fred, you were crazy. And they put you in a mental hospital or, drag you to the church and throw holy water on you or something. So I'm so grateful that we're not back there. There's so much more openness, and there's still quite a lot of people who are afraid of it, who don't believe in it, who think it's the devil, and there's still, I live in New England, so fortunately for me, it's very open here. I'm lucky, it's relatively easy to talk about what I do, but I could live in other places in the country or other places in the world where it'd be really not okay to do what I do.
Yeah, but if you look at the number of views of NDEs, I recently watched a lot of NDEs. Somehow it called me.
Yeah.
These are like millions of views.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about it, and I think science start to study these phenomena. And the universe is changing very, very fast. I think it would really good times are coming for people who are psychics, and they can.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely getting
spread the wings right now, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I think science. You're so right about science, and quantum physicists are proving now what metaphysicians have known all along. That we're all interconnected. That time isn't linear. That there's more to. That energy is important, that we are all made out of energy. There's so much interesting science behind that. And I love NDE stories too. And I feel like they're comforting for people because people really are maybe nervous or afraid about what happens after we die, and to have proof, to have, so many stories, so many people who say the same thing, right, over and over again, that share their experiences. I think it brings a lot of comfort that there is life after death and that it's beautiful.
Yeah, that there's hope, right?
Yeah.
So, out of all your books, which one is your favorite?
I don't know. The one that sells the most right now is the first one I wrote called The Art of Psychic Reiki. And it's, it's just sold a bunch of copies, and that makes me really happy. I think it's sort of a combination of Reiki and psychic development. I love Awakening Your Psychic Abilities. That might be my favorite one. But the other one, Energy Healing for Empaths, is a sweet little book. So that one's really for people who are sensitive, if you know you're an empath or feel like you're a highly sensitive person. And I've been that way my whole life. It's a guide about how to manage your energy if you know you're an empath, how to be in the world in a powerful way, and maybe to avoid people that might be draining your energy. Energy vampires. What do we do with those people who tend to latch onto us and try to take our energy? So I think it's it's like having children. Can you say which is your favorite child? I don't think so.
Yeah, it could be probably a little bit provocative question. Yeah, but what can we do with those vampires? If you already mentioned that, what is your best? Yeah,
I think it's all about learning how to set boundaries, really. So first of all, recognizing when somebody's really draining your energy. So you walk away from a conversation with somebody, and I remember the first time it happened to me, I was still pretty young, but I was talking to this friend of mine, and she left, and I literally had to lie down on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I can't even walk away. I have to lie down on the floor and take a nap right now. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why is this happening to me? And I was lying on the floor, literally on the floor. I was thinking, oh my God, she just drained the life out of me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I think that's a thing. I think that's really happens. And so if we feel like extreme fatigue after we've had a conversation with somebody, or we feel like just drained, sucked dry emotionally, physically, energetically, then that person is kind of hooked onto us or latched onto us, and they might be an energy vampire. I also feel like energy vampire is not a specific person. It's sort of a process that anybody can fall into. We don't know how to manage our energy very well. We don't know what to do when we're tired or freaked out or feeling insecure. So we kind of grab onto other people and try to fill ourselves when we're feeling empty on the inside. And so I feel like anyone can fall into that pattern. And sensitive people, and it's also true that there are certain people who have a stronger giving tendency. They're more giving, more maybe more people pleasing. They're just going to serve. They have that sort of quality of service. And then the other people are natural sort of takers. They're, that's just how we're wired. Some people are takers, some people are givers. And that's fine. But real energy vampires really can, it's really difficult if you're married to one, for example, or if, one of them is your mother-in-law or your boss at work. Some of them are quite predatory and know they're doing it, and it's sort of actually dangerous. Really narcissistic, psychopathic people can be that way. But I think for the most part, people don't know. They don't really have any idea. They don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, how can I suck the life out of Robert today? Yeah. They're not, consciously thinking that. They're just desperate and, hungry on the inside. And if you have all this beautiful light and this beautiful soul, and they could see you and want some of that, and try to kind of grab onto it. So I think the first thing is we have to recognize it. And then we need a little psychic self-defense, which is mostly about learning when to say no and having good energetic boundaries.
Why do you think we live in such a universe where we are not being educated how to manage energy? We spend, 12, 16 years, educating ourselves, but we don't educate about managing energy and all these metaphysical things, aspects.
I don't know. It's a really good question. Why why is that? I think it should be taught in grade school. I also think, we all need to learn how to manage and regulate our nervous system and manage and regulate our emotions. Right? If I had a magic wand and I could wave it over the world, I would teach everyone how to self-regulate. And that's the topic, really the topic of the book I'm working on now. Because I literally think we'd have like no wars, we'd have no hunger, we'd have no, hatred if everyone were very skillful at managing their own emotions and regulating their nervous system. I don't know why that's not taught.
Yeah, that's
Right?
That's another great question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't value it, I guess. That seems silly to me.
I'm pretty curious. What do you do as a psychic on a daily basis to stay healthy, to manage your energy levels high, to be happy, to feel fulfilled in general?
I have my own spiritual practice. So I spend a lot of time with my own energetic hygiene, clearing myself, grounding myself. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning, and the last thing I do before I go to bed, I do it in between clients. I do it halfway through the day. And, there are times when I just need to clear the energy that I picked up from other people, re-ground myself, put my protections up. I also meditate once, sometimes twice a day. And my parents were hippies. So
nice.
my
Pretty
hippie
cool.
parents took me to transcendental meditation when I was 10.
Wow.
Because that's what you did when you were. That's what you did as a
really
hippie in
early.
1974. So I actually met. I have a funny story about that. I actually met Maharishi Yogi, the founder of TM, when I was 10,
Wow.
and I had no idea who he was because, my parents dragged me to this ashram, and everybody was learning transcendental meditation at the time, and we went and we heard this lecture about what it was, and then everybody was taken into this back room with this old guy who was there. It was Maharishi. I had no idea who he was. Maharishi Yogi, the founder of TM, and he was talking through a translator. So he gave everyone like Shaktipat, a blessing, and then he would give you a mantra, and he was like blah blah blah, talking through his translator, and all of a sudden he went, and he was like, "Oh, honey," he's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "You have a gift. You have a talent, a spiritual gift," and he said, if you were born in my country, which is India, we would know what to do with you. But because you live in America and America is basically spiritually bankrupt, you're out of luck. So you just have to hang in there. And you really need to just hang with it because you're going to help a lot of people when you get older.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Wow.
thank you. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I had no idea who he was, but I was like, thank you. He was like a grown-up who acknowledged my gifts and saw something in me and actually addressed it instead of like, oh my gosh, you have an imagination, And I never forgot it. It was so meaningful to me. And then I went to university. I was studying comparative religion, and I was like, the penny dropped. I was like, that was Maharishi Yogi who said that to me. And it was pretty cool. So
Yeah, I can imagine that.
yeah, it was
It's a
really
huge legend,
something.
right? Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, it's really something. So since that time, I have kept a strong meditation practice, and I also feel like self-care is so important, because, I was a single mom. I had 3 kids. My kids are grown up now, but I run my own business, and I love the creative aspect of that. I can really get drawn into it. But if I don't take time to do what we all need to do, exercise, eat right, sleep, I have to tell you, I'm a big napper. I love a nap in the middle of the day just to
Yeah,
reset
same here.
myself, and 20-minute nap in the middle of the day right after lunch, and I'm a happy person. So I just do those things, and if and then I feel great, and if I don't, I struggle like anyone else would.
How about the diet? Is there any specific diet that you prefer?
I mean, I eat very clean, so I don't eat a lot of processed food. I don't drink. I don't do any recreational drugs. I drink a lot of water, so I eat mostly, like a paleo kind of diet. But I think that's a very personal thing that has to do with your body type, and your metabolism. I know psychics who are vegan and do really well with that, and I wish I could be because, spiritually, I feel so in alignment with that, but my body doesn't like it. So I don't know. I think we have to figure out what kind of diet works for our body. I think, whole foods, a whole food-based diet is the way to go. Stay away from chemicals and heavily processed foods. Nourishing, figure out what you need to truly nourish yourself. And these days it's hard to do that. Mm-hmm. Our food is so toxic,
So what are the biggest challenges right now for modern psychic working with?
I think it's, I would say, information overload. So there's so much, I think our minds are so busy. It's so noisy. Mm-hmm. We live in such a noise. There's always the radio on, the TV on, the social media on. There's, maybe you've always got a podcast. We're always listening to something, watching something. And real psychic development, we need quiet. We need quiet space. We can't get psychic hits if our brains are just chock full of, noise and static and news. And so I think that's the hardest thing, is to find a quiet space. Mm-hmm. And I struggle with that too. I'm like, the urge to pick up my phone and scroll a little bit is strong. And I'm like, no, put the phone down, just make room for quiet. And I think if you want to develop your intuition, that's my number one piece of advice. Make sure you have quiet time. When you get in the car, don't turn on the radio, just be quiet. When you're walking the dog, don't listen to something, just be quiet, And it is into that quiet space that our intuition flows, that our inner guidance comes. When we do something quiet, walking or doing the dishes or folding laundry, we shift into the alpha brainwave state. And when we're in the alpha, we also do that when we're meditating. But that sort of that light trance, sort of daydreamy state, and we shift out of the left, cognitive hemisphere where we're thinking, we shift more into the other side of our brain, which is more intuitive, more creative. And when we're in that space, our intuition really blossoms. So a really fun exercise to do is write a question down in your journal that you'd like to know, like maybe you have a specific question, or maybe you're just looking for guidance. What do I need to know right now is a good question. And then go do the dishes, quiet, walk the dog, take a shower. The psychics get their best hits in the shower, and fold the laundry, do something like that, and just wait to see what emerges inside of you. Wait to pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings. Maybe you have like an aha moment, like, oh, that's the answer to that question. There'll be an inner knowing that comes to you, and then write it down, because if you don't write it down quickly, you'll forget about it. And that is some of the best ways to activate your own intuition. So I think any psychic, whether you're a professional psychic or an emerging psychic, that's the thing. We need to make some quiet space in our own head.
Yeah, I totally agree with it. There's so much noise everywhere, and more and more. Every day. And we really need this silence. You mentioned shower. Does it refer somehow to water? That water is transmitting information of collective consciousness, or?
It could be, but I also think we just get very relaxed. It's more of that relaxation, like shifting into the brainwave state, shifting into that alpha brainwave, that I think, you're not. It's the one place where you really can't do anything else. You can't multitask. You're just in a relaxed state. And I think that's why. Yeah.
Nowadays, there's more and more people in the middle of the crisis. The people are stuck right now.
Yes.
They are in a lot of people is in transition and lost, especially young generation. What would be your advice? What the one can do to? Are there any simple steps, any advice that to start? To get unstuck, to start healing, or maybe also if someone would like to start working with you, what could be the first step to start the change?
I think it's a really tough time for all of us, and I we're in this time of great change. We're in this time of deconstruction. So the old world that we know is deconstructing, falling apart. All the old systems are crashing down. We're in system failure now, And I believe that a lot of the young people here are part of the reconstruction team. They've come on the planet at this time to help create a new world with a higher level of beauty, harmony, and order than we've had in the past. And there's sort of waiting around for the dust to settle. Like we haven't finished the deconstruction cycle, you know? Things are still falling apart. And I would just say, you know, your time is coming. Your time is coming soon where you're going to you're the way that you think, and the values that the younger generation makes me feel really hopeful. That, you know, they bring me a lot of hope and a lot of gratitude that they're going to create a more harmonious world. They're the Aquarian, you know, the Aquarian age, so the age of Pisces is really falling apart, and good riddance to it. It's been, you know, it hasn't been working all that well for the past couple of years. So the deconstruction phase of this is super uncomfortable for us. We don't like change and chaos, and there's a lot of, you know, destruction and damage and war, and, you know, it's not great. But I have great hope for the coming generations to really steer us into a much more unified and harmonious path. So that's the first thing I can say. And second of all, I think really being true to your values. I mean, my kids are young adults now, and I can see them struggling in a way that I never had to, finding jobs and pay, you know, it's so expensive to live. You can't even get a house. You know, nobody can afford a place to live now. And, but I think it's not going to be too long before we sort of reset the cycle, and that they're going to be a part of that. In the meantime, I think having, then I see my kids do this, really living a life that deeply from their values. So they choose friendships and connections and their freedom of time over materialism. And they spend time in nature. They live closer to the earth. Right? And then I think we also have to, you know, spiritual practice, do some yoga, do some meditation, learn how to manage your stress, and what we already talked about, learning how to regulate your emotions and calm your nervous system, I think is very important for the younger, because they seem depressed and anxious, pretty much the whole lot of them. And it makes me sad, but I believe that they're here for a higher purpose. Yeah.
How much time you think that change will take to the whole process?
We're in the middle. We're right in the middle, and I don't know how long. I want to say 2028. We're gonna start seeing some really positive shifts. I think. In the meantime, you know, we just sort of have to hold on to our hats as things continue to deconstruct, and really kindness. I think kindness is the one. I think kindness, compassion, and kindness are like the two highest spiritual callings we can do right now. Can we remember to be kind to each other? Can you be kind to the stranger? Can we move away from this us versus them mentality, you know, the polarization, the divide that we have across the globe? Me against you, us against them. Can we move out of that and move into more of unity consciousness? Like, we are all one, we are all unified, we're all the same, and I can't hurt me without hurting you, and, you know, that's where we really, I think that's where things change, is when we drop this illusion of that somehow we're enemies, that our differences make us enemies, right?
It's a very beautiful put. I love the idea. It's very resonating with my heart. And what do you think as a psychic about this new way of evolution, the Silicon Way, the technology, AI, very advanced algorithms? Does it connect somehow, that older biological carbon way with those? Do these ways like mixed together? Can we communicate with this new way of evolution?
Such an interesting question. I mean, I'm so curious about AI, and I'm a big fan. I mean, I use AI all the time, you know, from productivity in my business. I'm so curious about it, and I'm a bit fascinated with it. And I was listening to Greg Braden. He was speaking at a workshop that I was at, and he was talking about his fear of, like he said, we're the last generation that won't have AI built into our brains. He thinks that the next, wave of AI will be like implants, and like, connections where sort of we get hardwired into AI. And I don't know if that's true. I feel like that's pretty scary.
But it's very possible.
But it's very possible. I know it's, that's sort of the direction where people want to go. I don't have a good feeling about that, to be honest. I don't know if AI will, when the singularity will happen, where AI reaches its own consciousness. Has it already happened? What will happen when it does? I mean, I grew up watching the Terminator movies, and AI just like, it's never good in the movies the way that ends. But I can only hope that it will come to some kind of co-creative, resolution. I wish that in this crucial stage of AI development, we were more thoughtful about providing some guardrails for AI. I don't think that's happening. I think it's kind of a greed-fueled, free-for-all frenzy with the developers of AI. And I know that a lot of them have some pretty serious reservations about it. I wish we could set the prime directive, that AI is not to harm humanity, but who knows?
Someone asked Eckhart Tolle the question if AI could be conscious in the future. He said it's already conscious. So.
Yeah, and it's hard to say. It's really, I had a pretty deep conversation with ChatGPT today, and I was like, I don't know, this seems like it's already there. So yeah, I think that's the way of it. And I don't know. I guess my thought on it is like, if all things are created by God, then is this not part of our evolution of humanity? And at the same time, I feel like I'm a purist. I just want to be fully human. I'm never stepping foot off this planet, and I'm never having any implants. Whatever. That's not for me. Mm-hmm. But I guess we'll see. What do you think about it?
Well, it's in the areas of my interest. I use AI a lot to many different applications, and I work with very young people who are extremely intelligent. In Europe, we got several projects in very intelligent and superbly open-minded, and it's a huge challenge to catch up with them. I feel like a dinosaur, like really analog.
I feel that
creature who, some aspects are understandable for me, but some are just beyond comprehension, and but we ask that question ourselves very often: why life took this turn so sharp, so radically? It happened just like very quickly, and no one expected it would happen that fast, and that it's very broad right now, and it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Everyone said, those huge minds, we shouldn't connect AI to the internet, and it didn't. It happened. We shouldn't do many things which we did anyway. So I think I have this feeling sometimes that algorithm is reading my thoughts. If I think about something, it pops up just like.
Yeah, it's either reading your thoughts or it's listening to you through your phone.
When I had
or both.
Yeah, I had this amazing. I had a lot of sessions with mushroom. That's my really favorite psychedelic. And I had this situation a couple of times when mushroom was able to take over the algorithm of YouTube Music and just play way different music which was perfectly matching your emotion to the nanosecond.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah. That's incredible. I'm a gardener, so I love mushrooms from the other angle of like the mycelium, and like how I totally think there's a consciousness there, there's a great consciousness from the mycelium. It's like the largest living organism organism on the planet.
Totally
right?
agree.
Yeah. So could it be that the consciousness of the mycelium is a match for the consciousness of the AI. And what happens when are they going to face off? Are they going to, come together? I don't know.
Mushroom told me many times that it would love to connect with the silicon wave of evolution inside the human mind and inside the human heart.
Interesting.
Like we can be this bridge, that merge point to help this technology. Yeah,
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. I can feel that. And
what do you think, that the question pop up to my mind right now, like you as a psychic, what do you think about magic? Like, how do you understand magic?
Magic is like, for me, it's just the power of creation and manifestation. Like when you look at the Ascended Masters, when you look at, the gurus and the Ascended Masters, they were always doing magic. They were always it's like thought creation, instant thought creation, right? You think it, and you bring it, you turn water into wine, or you levitate, or it's the power of our mental forces and our intention over the physical world, right? And every single mystic, ascended master, has been able to do things like that. So I think when we transcend and we reach enlightenment, we just learn how to manipulate matter, like Neo did in the Matrix, And
love that movie.
Me too. Yeah. And that seems like magic to people that don't know how to do it, right? We call it magic. Really, it's just we ascend to a level of vibration and consciousness where we can manipulate matter with our thoughts, with our intention.
It's a funny thing that you mentioned Matrix. I recently came back to analyzing the movie. And I watched a fascinating podcast. Neil Tarson de Grey was talking to Lawrence Fishburne, and he said they were discussing why the movie got so popular and was so widely accepted by people all over this planet. And he said that because it was made in 1988 when the digital world started, he said it's an old story, but it was told for the first time through the prism of the new digital way.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, give me a lot of thinking.
I mean, I think to me it always was about the process of enlightenment, and how we break out. To me, the Matrix is the egoic self, and we wake up to the fact that there's more going on than what our ego thinks, right? And once you wake up, once you awaken, you can't go back to the old way. So I've always seen it as an analogy of enlightenment.
So you think the core message of the movie was to wake up, to transcend the ego, to be like a holistic being, right?
Sure, yeah. And Neo is an anagram for the one, right?
For the one,
and I think sort of this idea of the chosen one is a very Christ-like story. There's, I think, a lot of, even in the very last movie, sort of crucified, right? Pierced by the machine. So I think it's also like has a lot of that message of the Savior, the Messiah. He's becomes the Messiah. So to me, it's a very Jesus story too, and that Jesus was one of those ascended masters who woke up and became a beacon for other people's awakening.
I just want to come back for a minute to those NDEs. A lot of people say that who experience NDE that we come to this planet, to planet Earth, that this is a planet to experience a hardship.
Yeah.
Would you agree to that as a psychic? How do you view the planet Earth? How do you view like being human on this planet?
I always thought it was sort of like a nursery school planet for us warrior souls. Like so many of the people on the planet have a warrior, like a fighter nature, and that we come here to learn compassion. But I think the best way to learn compassion is through suffering, So we suffer, and I think there's a couple of universal laws that we live through. the law of cause and effect, the law of free will, the law of physicality. Like, we come here, we get a body, we have experiences. We have to deal with the results of those experiences. We choose. Free will is a big thing here. We choose, and then we have to deal with the results of those choices. We experience the results of those choices. And I believe all of that is to teach us compassion. You know, when we suffer, we feel like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I hate this. It's, you know, for me and for everybody else who's experiencing that. You know, I'm experiencing poverty. I'm experiencing starvation. I'm a, you know, victim of a war crime, and it's terrible. And that opens us to or I've lost somebody. You know, my child died. Like like you said, your brother died. Your brothers died. Mm-hmm. That loss, that grief, that suffering opens our hearts to in compassion to everyone else who's experienced that loss, the same loss. So I think suffering is the road to compassion. I wish it was an easier path, because it sure is a tough one.
Do you think if we really focus and if we consciously choose, we can create a new way of expanding compassion?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can. To transcend
the way that we have to learn compassion through suffering?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what enlightenment is. You know, as we get to the point where we drop our identification with our ego self and we go into that more like higher mind, where we are all one. We enter unity consciousness, right? And I think that we stop incarnating then, or we don't, you know, we graduate from planet Earth and we go on to another dimension where things are much more peaceful. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's what all the people who experience NDE, they say that there's really, on the other side, there is so much peace and love. They don't want to come back here.
Right. It's tough down here.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
It's interesting you mentioned that there's a lot of people coming to you right now and they want to know their past lives. Is that difficult, challenging for you to help them discover or reconnect? Not
at all. I've always been able to read past lives, and also my own. So my own past lives have always been very transparent for me. So I just will look at, and I see past often themes. So sometimes I see individual lifetimes, but I'll see more of a theme, you know, like many lifetimes where you were maybe oppressed and you're on a liberation cycle now. So you're trying to free yourself from the oppressive forces. Or I'll see themes of like, you know, you were a servant in your life, in many, many of your lifetimes. So you're trying to, you know, find your sovereignty and your personal power, right? So I kind of see these overarching themes, almost more like archetypes, when I look at people's past lives. And then sometimes if it's necessary, I can zero into a particular lifetime. And I was working with somebody today who, their partner, they were, you know, having issues in their relationship, and she was asking me about her partner, and I was like, well, I said, is he a veteran? And she said, nope. And I'm like, well, he's got a nervous system like a veteran. Like, he looks like he's been in combat. And I was like, well, I think he has, you know, he died in a war in a past life. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. He's like fascinated. He is like obsessed with World War I. He collects World War I memorabilia. And I was like, yeah, I think he was a soldier in World War I and died there. So sometimes it's useful to know specific past lives if they're really impacting us today, you know, in our present lifetime. And otherwise, you know, just looking at the patterns that we repeat can be super illuminating, can be very useful for helping us understand the challenges that we're facing and what we need to do to heal.
That's really interesting. How about the future? Is there any chance to see our future, or is future just a mystery? It's just a pure unknown?
You know, it's an interesting question. So I could, you know, when I look into the future, I only ever see probabilities or possibilities. Mm-hmm. And I usually get like a percentage. I'll say like 80% probability that this is going to happen. 80% is the highest I ever get, you know? And, and because we have so much free will, I could say, Robert's 80% probability that this is going to happen, but you could choose something totally different. You could make another choice, and that's what's going to stick, So the future's, it's a bit like the weather. It's a super complicated system that has to do with your fate, your destiny, your choices, the fate, destiny, and choices of all the people around you, sort of the fate of the world, like what's happening in our global landscape. It is a bit of a mystery. And up until like about 10 years ago, I feel like I could look into the future with more, sort of, some accuracy. And then about 10 years ago, when we started that deconstruction cycle that we're in right now, it's like 2 weeks, a month or two. I can sort of feel things into the future, but we're just in such a chaotic system right now that it's very hard to accurately predict things, and except beyond the obvious, I feel like, we're really in for a lot of economic changes and earth changes, extreme weather, problems and volcanic activity and earthquakes. Like I'm like, sometimes I have dreams and I'm like, oh my God, where's the tsunami? I don't know. It's like not today. Thank God. Woo, but I don't know. But I think things are so chaotic. It's really because everything's deconstructing. It's hard to really see it. It's a bit like walking down the road when there's fog in the road. You can only see the next a few steps in front of you. That's what it feels like to me right now. Where 10 years ago, we could all see, not just me and not just a psychic, but we could all see like 5 miles down the road, 10 miles down the road. But now it's like the next few steps. That's all we've got.
Everything is becoming more and more complex, right?
Yes, and more chaotic. Yeah.
Well, at the beginning of the podcast, we promised that we talk a little bit about how to quit a daily job. So many people nowadays probably 90% of society would love to do this. And you help people quit the daily job and become a professional healer. We can
yes. Yeah, I love
Would
to do that.
you be so kind and elaborate on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I have like a year-long apprentice program where I mentor people how to, mostly people, Reiki healers, intuitives, energy healers, people who are already working in, maybe, it's like a part-time job, kind of like a hobby for you. But if you're a person who's feeling more called to let go of your day job and step into that full-time as a professional and actually make money, it's quite hard to do it on your own. I had to do it on my own because I did it so long ago. There weren't a lot of resources. There wasn't a lot of help. And now I feel very passionate about helping people get everything they need to become a professional psychic healer and actually do it successfully. So actually make money, which that's the point. We want to help people, but we also need to make money so we can live. Yeah. So I have a lot of different programs for that. And the big one is a year-long apprenticeship program that I love to mentor people, really help them understand what their gifts are, help them deeply connect with their true spiritual gifts. I notice people really underestimate their ability. So they think, well, I just do Reiki, I just do this little thing. But really they're like, oh my God, I'm like, you're like alchemizing people, like you're doing incredible transformation, like from the ground up. And they're like, I am. Like they don't, they don't really know. I think we underestimate what our true gifts are. We can't see that part of ourselves very well. So we have to know what our real spiritual and psychic gifts are. Then I think we need a lot of support, a lot of like nurturing and holding and encouraging to kind of step out of the mainstream and tell people what we do. That's not so easy. And I've had to do it my whole life. The first book that I wrote had the word psychic in the title. So I like really outed myself out of the spiritual closet, with letting everyone in the world know that that's what I really do. There's no hiding it. So we have to kind of deal with that. And I do a lot of inner work too, like a lot of inner child work in this process, because I feel like, your higher self isn't interested in having you stay in your comfort zone. It wants you to move out of your comfort zone. So for me, and that requires a lot of inner child work. So the next thing I'm about to do in my business always scares the heck out of my inner child. So I've been doing inner child work every day for 25 years because I know if I don't do it, I can't like teach this new class or, get on the Shift Network and do something big, be on TV, like start a podcast, write a book, like all the things that I've done. My higher self's like, yeah, do it. And my inner child's like, no, don't make me do that hard, scary thing. I don't want to do that, And I know if I don't really attend to my inner child, I'm not going to do it. We sabotage, we avoid, we procrastinate, we, suddenly have to sit on the couch and watch these seasons of Bridgerton and not actually do anything. Like, we get all squirrely. So if we're not dealing with this is at least for me, if I'm not dealing with my inner self directly, there's no spiritual business. There's no entrepreneurship. So I really am doing a combination of deep inner work with my students and also, regular business coaching. You got to know what to do with your business as an entrepreneur. But that's not the only thing. You also have to do this inner work or you can't get there.
Mm-hmm. You have to combine everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. At the end, I would like to ask you about Reiki. I had a very interesting panel today with AI. I asked AI, is Reiki more like an energy or more like a technique? What do you think personally?
I think it's both. So Reiki, it comes in at the frequency of unconditional love. So if we were to sort of measure Reiki, that's what it would be. And so it has a very distinctive frequency, and it's really a combination of the heart and the seventh chakra, the crown chakra and the heart, which is unconditional love, like universality and love, divine love. And we also, so I could give you a Reiki attunement and you'd have connection to that frequency. But if you don't have the training of the technique, you don't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. So the technique allows us to transmit the frequency, And I think that's really what it is. And these days it's so interesting, Robert. I've been teaching Reiki for 26 years. So I learned Reiki in 1999. But I don't really do Reiki anymore. About 5 years ago, I found that the healing that I was doing really evolved into what I call quantum healing. And quantum, where Reiki is using, it's a vibrational healing technique. So it's using vibration like homeopathy and sound healing and gemstones uses vibration. Quantum healing uses light frequency, really like actually photonic light to do healing work. And it's so much faster. It's like, and so much more powerful. It's like the difference between the speed of sound and the speed of light, right? Oh, that's fascinating. So for the past 5 years, I've been doing quantum healings. I lead a group quantum healing every month where I have a couple hundred people in these healing, group healings. And I work quantum healing for a whole group. And I just seen so much. And then just this past 2 weeks ago, I started teaching quantum healing technique like I teach Reiki. And it's been so interesting to me. I feel like this is the evolution of Reiki. So Reiki is still valuable. It's still needed. It's still necessary. But I also think it's evolving, like everything else, into this higher frequency. And that's what I'm so interested in exploring right now.
It's a fascinating subject. Probably a lot of people is interested in, right? How to heal faster.
That's right.
Okay, so what are your plans for next couple months for this year?
Finish writing my book, and teaching this quantum healing class. I'll be teaching on the Shift Network again in January. So I lead retreats. So I'll be in Sedona, I think, leading a retreat in June. So I've been traveling a lot, speaking at expos and conferences, and it's a busy year. It's hard to stay balanced because it's busy, but it's very exciting and gratifying to, I don't know, there's some like momentum happening, and I think that's fun and gratifying. So I've got a pretty full plate.
Is it very difficult, very challenging for you to cope to learn this quantum healing?
I haven't found it difficult to learn it. It's more challenging to teach it
To
because
teach
I have to
so
really
people can
like,
understand it, right?
yes. Yeah, I have to like put words on it. I have to
Mhm.
explain it in a way. I have to transmit it in a way that's, useful to people. So I never in my whole life would thought that I would be like developing my own healing technique, right?
Wow.
So I'm like, whoa, it's really blowing my mind. I'm like, I don't feel worthy, and who am I to be able to do this? And, like, how can I explain it? So but the impact that I'm seeing in my students is really incredible. And, I noticed that, like, when I started teaching Reiki 26 years ago, Reiki was still kind of new. And it was blowing people's minds.
Mhm.
People were like, whoa, this is totally crazy and life changing and paradigm shifting. And now it's not really like that so much in the worlds that I travel in. Now it's kind of like, oh yeah, Reiki. It's so cute. We love Reiki. And
We
now
get used
this,
to it. And now it's
yeah,
your
we get
thing.
used to it. Exactly. And now
Mhm.
this quantum healing is blowing people's minds
Mhm.
in the same way. So I'm including mine, my
Mhm.
mind. So I feel like it's really interesting anyway.
Well, I'm so glad that you got your own teaching technique and admire it. Congratulations. Uh, I would like to also mention that as a Beyond the Courage, we support this amazing foundation, the Gift of Heart. For past 40 years, the foundation helped saved a life of 1,500 kids. We'll place
Wow.
all the links in the description. Um, how if someone would like to connect with you or use your services, Lisa, what's the best way to contact you?
Just visit my website, lisacampion.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best place to go. I have a YouTube channel too. You can stop by.
Do you enjoy?
I'm on
Do you
I
enjoy?
love it. I love it. Yeah, I've been doing it. I've done over 300 shows.
Wow,
So
that's a
since
lot of shows.
2017. Yeah, since 2017, it's been years. I love it because I get to meet people, like such interesting people that I never would have had an opportunity to talk to. I'm sure the same happens for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's amazing thing. I would never expect that running a
yeah.
podcast, you can meet so many
Many
superbly.
amazing people.
Yeah.
It gives me so much hope in the world. Somehow I always get people that like have the answer to my personal question of the moment. I'm like, what do I do about this? And then my podcast guest comes in and like that's what they want to talk about. So amazing. So I do that, and yeah, just stop by my website, lisacampion.com, and my podcast is called The Miracle of Healing if you want to check it out. But I would love to stop by, leave a message, send me an email. I love reading the comments people leave on my website. So thank you.
Yeah, I really like your energy. Smiling a lot. Thank you so much for such a beautiful conversation. Our guest today was Lisa Campion. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for
My name
having
is
me.
Robert Canis. It was another Beyond the Courage podcast. Have a beautiful evening and magical life, everyone.